We are in the heat of an awesome subscriber battle for the entirety of draft week. Currently sitting in second place, actually tied for second place with Bears now, trailing Vikings now by only 8 subscribers. I need at least 20 loyal Green Bay Packers fans to do me one big favor. Hit that sub button because we're trying to take over the NFC North, and I need your help to do so. Lock us in right now. Daily Packers coverage you won't find anywhere else. Welcome into the show, everybody. I am your host, Joey Peterson. So happy that you've decided to watch the Packers Report today. We are getting so close to the 2025 NFL Draft. So today I'm going to give you my final draft board, okay? I'm going over my top 10 Packers draft targets for rounds 1, 2, and 3. Picks 23, 54, and 87. If you look at how they fare through the entirety of the whole thing, they got 8 draft picks, 2 in the 7th round with that number 250 coming at that comp selection. But of course, today we're only talking about days 1 and 2, rounds 1, 2, and 3. And let's start with the first round. My number one guy on my Packers Report big board is Mike Green, edge out of Marshall. Now, I want to reiterate, these are only like realistic targets that I could see possibly falling to 23. So I'm not going to have Abdul Carter. I'm not going to have Travis Hunter, any of those guys, because that just wouldn't make any sense. But Mike Green, I could see a world because of all of the question marks about his past at Virginia from a few years ago, which he has addressed. I could see a world where he falls to 23. Green is my favorite realistic prospect, okay? Outside of Abdul Carter, I think he's the best edge rusher in this class, and I don't even think it's close. I think he's closer to Abdul Carter than third best would be to Mike Green. The production he had at Marshall was phenomenal. Then the big question marks after that was, how will he do against the Senior Bowl, right? Against competition from the Power Four. Well, he went and he absolutely dominated. Let's go to prospect number 2, a guy we've actually talked a ton about this week, Tetairoa McMillan, wide receiver out of Arizona, 6'4", 220 pounds. And I think Goody wants T-Mac bad, okay? Really bad. Bad enough where if he fell to 23, he would break the round 1 wide receiver draft streak without even thinking twice about it. I firmly believe that. I think he would fit fantastic in this offense, fantastic out there in that wide receiver core. I think he'd be a great Christian Watson replacement, at least until he gets back in November or so from that ACL tear. And I think Tetairoa McMillan has a very bright future as a wide receiver 1 in this league. Back-to-back 1,200 yard years at Arizona. This kid's an absolute star. Speed, height, catch radius, hands. He's got everything you could want. Call him out for me in the comment section. Who is your top Green Bay Packers draft target? Is it any of the guys I just mentioned? Is it someone totally new? Someone I haven't talked about yet, but I might in the next couple of minutes? I want to know your answers, so let me know in the comment section down below. All right, let's go to number 3. Give me cornerback, Jahdae Barron out of the University of Texas. And don't get me wrong, it's horns down, always and forever, okay? That'll never change. But Jahdae Barron, I think he's a guy that comes in here and solves the Jaire Alexander problem. As of right now, Jaire Alexander is still on this team. If I were a betting man, I would take every dollar I have in my account, all 37 of them, and put them on a bet that would say Jaire Alexander is not a Packer come September, okay? You get Jahdae Barron in that first round. He falls to you at number 23. I think he could step in right away, year 1, be the best cornerback on this roster, okay? I love Keyshawn Nixon. I love Nate Hobbs. I think they're going to be great players. I think Jahdae is someone very special. Let's go to pick number 4, or I guess I should say draft target number 4 on my big board, Mykel Williams, defensive lineman / edge rusher out of the University of Georgia. And to me, Mykel seems like the best fit on this roster. And he would be my guess for the selection, okay? I just think it makes too much sense with the way he plays, his size, his speed, but also his projection. He's only 20 years old. Now, he doesn't necessarily have the production that a lot of these other guys do, like a Donovan Ezeiruaku or a Mike Green. However, he was kind of used in a different way out of Georgia. He also was battling a high ankle sprain for the entirety of the 2020 2024 season. So if he gets right, he gets healthy, and if he's there at 23, I really would love that selection. Let's go to prospect number 5. I just mentioned him, Donovan Ezeiruaku. Defensive end, edge rusher out of Boston College. He had the second most sacks in all of college football this last year. And if you look at sacks per game, he would actually be the leader in the entire NCAA. He checks a lot of boxes. Okay? The size, the speed off the edge, not the greatest closing speed, but the speed when rushing the passer, the production. The only thing he really doesn't check is the height, but he kind of makes up for that with incredibly long arms. And so if Ezeiruaku's the pick at 23, if he's available there at 23, I would absolutely love it. I don't know if he will, though. I would keep a big eye on Tampa Bay, keep a big eye also on the Atlanta Falcons. Let's go to pick number 6, or should I say prospect number 6, Derrick Harmon, defensive lineman out of Oregon. And what I love about Derrick Harmon is he does so many things very well, especially when it comes to rushing the passer from the interior, which I feel like is a very lost art in this modern NFL. He feels like the consensus favorite for the selection. I wouldn't put him as my betting favorite. I'm still probably going Mykel Williams. However, a ton of people on Twitter, a ton of people who cover this team on a daily basis, just like us right here at the Packers Report, believe that Derrick Harmon is going to be the selection. Would not be surprised one bit. Let's keep it on the defensive line, shall we? Let's talk about James Pearce Jr., edge rusher out of Tennessee. Now, I do think 23 might be a little bit of a reach for him from where people are projecting him as of right now. However, with that being said, I think James Pearce still has a ton of good in his game and a ton of promise in the National Football League, okay? This is a guy who fell off a little bit in production from year over year, from his junior year to his senior year at Tennessee, but still, he's young, he's fast, he's tall, he's just got to put on a little bit more weight. Speaking of weight, let's talk about the big boy in the middle, Kenneth Grant. Defensive lineman out of Michigan. If you notice a theme, a lot of these guys play on the defensive line. Kenneth Grant had the pleasure of playing next to one of the best defensive linemen in the game in Mason Graham. So I do think some of his production came because of the attention on Graham. However, if you go back to the things that Jesse Minter and Jim Harbaugh have said about Grant in the past, they believe of all of their defensive recruits at Michigan, he's got the possibility to be the best defensive player that they've ever seen on that front four, okay? I'd be surprised if he gets past Los Angeles at pick number 21, Dylan. Is that where Los Angeles is? I think they are. But if he does and he's there at 23, I think he'd be very interested. No surprise here, another defensive lineman. This one, defensive tackle Walter Nolen out of Ole Miss. I think Walter Nolen is such an interesting prospect this year, okay? He has some character issues I don't love, alrighty? And they're different from the James Pearce ones in the fact that, like, Walter Nolen would just sometimes walk out of practice if he was frustrated. And, like, the maturity thing there is a really big red flag, and so I don't necessarily love that, but I love the player. I love his projection, and if he winds up in the right place with the right defensive coordinator, which possibly is Jeff Hafley, I think he could be a star. Let's round this one out for the first round with Matthew Golden, wide receiver out of the University of Texas, another Texas Longhorn in my top 10, but Matthew Golden is going to be great. I think Golden is going to be incredibly special. He is quick as a cat. He is lightning fast. He is everything you could want in a wide receiver. I will say, does have a little bit of a drop issue, which I know will scare a lot of people with this team because the entire wide receiver core had a little bit of a drop issue. But still, I think he's going to be phenomenal. I think if you put him in the right offense with the right quarterback in Jordan Love, he can be something very special. Coming up, my big boards for picks number 54 and number 87, my top 10 prospects, not only for the second round, but for the third round as well. Make sure you guys stick around. I got to give you a ton of really good players to look at and look for. But before that, make sure you guys hit that subscribe button. Alrighty? Daily Packers videos, breaking news coverage, latest news and rumors, all 100,000% free. Does not cost you a dime, does not cost you a penny. You don't get put on any mailing list by hitting that subscribe button. So do it right now. Join 3,000 Packers fans we've got rocking with us right here on the Packers Report. Alrighty, let's look at my big board for pick number 54. Number one, I got Luther Burden, okay? And the reason I have him as number 1 in the second round is because if he somehow falls to you at 54, I would absolutely lose my mind. I think Luther Burden is still good enough to be like a late round 1 selection, okay? Then you go Trey, Amos, JT Tuimoloau, Maxwell Hairston, Shavon Revel Jr. Got a lot of cornerbacks in this list of 1 through 5. I think most likely they go cornerback in that second round. I'd be really happy with either of those selections. Jayden Higgins is a wide receiver out of Iowa State. I don't think he's going to fall to you at 23, but I see a world in which it's possible. Him or Elic, Ayomanor, I think are going to be really great day 2 selections. And then that offensive line, Jonah, Savaiinaea. He was a tackle this past year at Arizona, but he feels like he's a lot better on the interior, and I think that's where he play. Omarr, Norman, Lott, great pass rushing defensive tackle from the middle, and Benjamin Morrison would be a good cornerback option, but he's not going to be my top 4 when looking at day 2 selections. So my take is, I'll be honest, that big board you just saw from the second round would change drastically depending on the 23rd overall pick. If they do pick cornerback, if they do pick Jahdae Barron, there's going to be a lot more edge rushers, a lot more defensive linemen on that list. But if they don't, the cornerbacks are going to stay. Say they pick, it's all just going to be very dependent. But as of right now, those I think are the top options available when it comes to round 2. Let me know down below, which position should Green Bay draft in round 1? Do you think they should go edge rusher? Maybe corner? Maybe wide receiver? I don't know. I have some thoughts. I think probably edge, unless, Jahdae Barron falls to you at corner or Tetairoa McMillan at wide receiver. You let me know, though, in the comment section down below. Let's talk about pick number 87 in this third round. My big board, top 10 prospects for the third round. Darien Porter, I love him out of Iowa State. I think he'd be a really, really great selection. He's incredibly long, incredibly sticky as well. Tate Ratledge, he's got the mullet. He's got pretty much everything you could want. And then Oluwafemi Oladejo is an interesting prospect out of UCLA. Has a really great cross-chop move, but only played edge rusher for 1 year, okay? Couple of wide receivers on this list, Jalen Royals, Jalen Noel, 2 Jalens, both I'd be very, very happy with. Let's talk about the defensive tackles now. 1 from Texas, 2 from Texas, 2 from Texas, 1 from Texas A&M, Shamar Turner, Vernon Broughton, and Alfred Collins. I think of those, Shamar Turner would be the best. I think Vernon Broughton would also be a really good option. And then Jack Sawyer, edge rusher out of Ohio State. I don't know if he falls to you at 87. That seems a little bit late, but if he does, that's phenomenal. And CJ West, the big athletic 300-pounder out of Indiana, would be an awesome, awesome pick at number 87. So my draft strategy, if I'm Brian Gutekunst, heading into Thursday, I'd go cornerback, edge, and then wide receiver in the first 3 rounds, okay? Not in any particular order. I think you look at those 3 positions and you say, who's the best player available in these 3 positions each round, okay? And you do that. And then for round 4 and beyond, for 4, 5, 6, and then 2 7s for the last 5 picks, you go best player available. Who's right there on the board that can help my team that I believe will have the best future in the National Football League? That's going to help you out the most. Make sure you guys subscribe because tomorrow is draft day. I'll probably watch the movie tonight to get a little celebration in. I'm so excited for it. I know you guys are as well. Lock us in right here at the Packers Report by hitting that sub button.